Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Episode 16, my final episode of From Sparks to Skyscrapers. We've done 2 a semester since I've been here at Ursinus, and we figured why not culminate by having the entrepreneur in residence, the person behind the scenes at the Imagine Center all these years, Maureen Cumpstone, on the podcast today. So Maureen, welcome. Thank you. I know you didn't exactly want to do this, but we got you here anyway. Yeah. So thank you. And I just want you to get started by introducing yourself, talk about your previous experience as a business owner, coming out of Ursinus and then coming back to Ursinus as the entrepreneur in residence.
Okay, sure. So I'm Maureen Cumpstone. I've been here at the Imagine Center for Integrative and Entrepreneurial Studies for almost 8+ years now. So I graduated from Ursinus with a degree in psychology and found myself in a position working for a major financial institution. And at the time, little did I know it would start my entrepreneurial journey. I found myself in a position where I was in a new division that was opening up, and what we would now call entrepreneurship, but at that time there was no such word.
Right.
But basically, I was in a war room with 11 other people that were charged with opening up a new division that was going to be nationwide, and everything from financial projections for each individual units to lease negotiations to hiring to setting quotas.
All of it. Yeah.
All of it. My boss was the head of the company, and at a very young age, I found myself involved heavily in financial operations, which I didn't have very much background in.
You got it.
Yeah, but my education prepared me, and I'm somebody that looks forward to a challenge and is not afraid to take opportunity. I always have that radar up, and so it looked like a good opportunity. I decided to say yes and found out that this is what it was all about.
Yeah.
So I spent 5.5 years opening with my boss and this team of 11 other people, 50 offices across the United States. And I like to tell a story. You know, I'm driving a 66 Volkswagen that doesn't start in the rain and flying on a corporate jet that's being brought down to New York. And it's unbelievable. Literally, it was just a whole different world. But what it did was provided me with a really foundational background on how to manage by the numbers, how to manage, period.
Yeah.
And how to manage all aspects of the business, business.
So then that experience then led you into your own entrepreneurial journey with the restaurant. So I want you to talk a little bit about that, how you, that came to be.
Yeah.
Well.
So from that experience, I ended up in another opportunity. They seem to come when you're looking for them. When you have your radar up, people, if you have and develop a specific expertise, and startup is kind of a weird expertise.
Yeah, definitely.
It's not.
There's no method to the madness.
There's no method to the madness. But there was a very large nonprofit in Philadelphia looking for someone that could help them grow, because in order for them to stay in existence, they needed to grow to get the revenue, like the grants in, the fee-for-service revenue in order for them to actually stay in business. And they found me. And so I ended up there for what I thought was going to be a year, and it ended up to be 9.
Okay.
So all in all, I had about 15 years of startup experience going into my own thing.
Right.
And so I forget what year it was, went into the restaurant business. I had grown up in the restaurant business, so I was
going to ask, yeah.
It's a tough business to get into. Yeah. So, yeah, I should say that from the time I was really little, I was out with my dad had a vision. He was a World War II vet, and he always wanted to have his own business. And from the time I was little, I was going place to place with him. That was how you did due diligence back then. You literally went from place to place, talked to people, learned how did they finance it, how did they start, how did they get to be where they were.
Yep.
And it's kind of full circle.
Yeah, now we have a podcast.
Yeah,
doing the exact same
doing
thing.
the exact same thing. So it kind of came full circle. So I grew up in that arena where I understood that everything we did was a result of providing good service to customers. They paid our bills. They put me through school.
Yeah.
And so I have a very strong appreciation for customer service and how to treat customers and relationship building, as well as, how to maintain those relationships and how important they are, because they pay the bills. Without revenue, you don't succeed.
Yeah. I want to ask, because I ask everybody this, when you're, owning or in entrepreneurship in any sense, but especially I feel like in the restaurant industry, because you're dealing with people all the time, I feel like there's always hardships and always issues that you run into. What was the most difficult challenge, biggest hardship that you had to face when you were a business owner, and how did you overcome it?
I think over 20 years, I think there were a couple. I'll start by saying the initial one was how to grow.
Yeah.
In order for any business to be financially sustainable, you have to have scale. You have to have business coming in. You have to be making money. You have to be, you have to have enough traction that you can have stability.
Yeah. Well, and you also have to have the infrastructure to be able to manage the upsurge in clients and clientele. Yeah.
And so, and to get to that point. So getting to that point was, 80-hour work weeks and just all in. So getting to a point where you have enough revenue coming in to be stable, I think was the first hurdle. Second hurdle was 9/11.
Yeah.
By all means, it shut down the country. People were very frightened. They were scared. So I had gained this traction.
Yep.
The business was growing. 9/11, right? Comes, and we all experience that. All business
layoffs and all kinds of things.
All kinds of things. People were frightened. The economy was tight. People didn't want to spend money. They didn't know what was going to happen, and that's where they stopped spending money initially. Going out to eat, having parties, socializing. That's a discretionary income, and that's where they stopped. So that was the first hurdle. And that was about just kind of controlling expenses. Yeah. And I learned that from my first job. So it was about really controlling expenses and controlling what we could do.
Controlling what you can control.
Exactly.
I mean, that's all you can do.
And hope that, and things did get better.
Yep.
The second big hurdle was Hurricane Sandy. Now I would say, okay, I'm in the middle of Pennsylvania. How could Hurricane Sandy be such a dramatic, have such a dramatic impact? Well, I had a restaurant down the shore.
Yep.
We were in the eye of the hurricane. Strangely enough, being in the eye, we did not get water in.
Wow.
Okay, so that operation stayed functioning. My main operation in Philadelphia, which was not in the eye of the hurricane, had power gone. We had water, but it wasn't so much water, but power, so I couldn't operate.
Yeah. So you have to think on your feet at that point.
I had to think on my feet. Strangely enough, I'm in a 200-year-old building. So it had a lot of add-ons. It was a 200-year-old building that had built on my kitchen, and my refrigeration had electric. No place else in the building. So we could produce food.
Right.
We just couldn't. It was really difficult to have people in. But people like that kind of thing. So I had candles everywhere.
Oh, my gosh.
People
capitalize on it.
Yeah, people love to come out in those kinds of situations. I literally had a sign outside saying, Pico, we need help. Because I think they thought we had power. Yeah. And we did, but not to be able to operate. And so, it's just comical. I was, people had a bar. People were in there. And we see this Gulf Coast caravan of electric trucks coming up. And they're like, are they coming? Yeah. Where are they coming? And sure enough, they did. And we had
problem
power.
solved.
But 2 weeks.
Yeah, that is crazy.
It was rough.
That is tough, yeah.
2 weeks of losing business is rough. So I would say they're the three big big hurdles.
Yeah, that's great.
Of course,
So
the recession, but
yeah.
I won't talk about that.
I mean, there's a ton. You're always going to have economic issues.
It's economic. Yeah.
But that kind of leads me to. I mean, we're going to start transitioning, talking about the You Imagine Center a little bit more. But
sure.
Just as a more of a transitional question, so if you're talking to a student that's starting a business or that's running into hardship, what advice do you give a college student that may not even have that level of infrastructure? Like, people have small businesses. College students have nothing. They're just getting it off the ground. It can be even that much harder to keep going if you face hardship. You can just literally say, "I'm, no harm, no foul. I haven't really put that much into this. I can just scrap it." What advice do you give to them?
I think the advice is, to be really resilient. You learn that if you have like a commitment to whatever it is you're doing, you figure out how to solve the problem.
Right.
So I would say, as far as advice goes, it's not that you necessarily know how to do that from the start and from the get-go, but circumstances put you in a position where you have to be resilient, you have to demonstrate grit, you have to learn, think on your feet, you have to solve problems in order to get to the next step, in order to stay in business or in order to continue with business. And so you're sort of forced to learn these resiliency skills or, grit. We call it grit. As you know, I'm pretty gritty. And so...
You're always talking about grit. That's like your buzzword of the year.
But it's true. In order to get through them and to come out on the other side and to maintain the relationship with customers and to, you have employees to pay. I mean, I had a very large operation. I had, people had families. They relied on their income.
Yep.
And in order for that income to be coming in, I had to be pretty resilient.
Yeah, it's a great answer.
Problems.
It's a great answer. So talking about the center as a whole, we've done, over the time that I've been here alone. I mean, Manning's sitting back here, but he was the first You Imagine scholar. Before that, it was just student workers, I believe.
Yeah.
And then the scholarship program, and now the scholarship program is, pushing students through. The first couple of my class, Manning's class, fully graduated.
Yep.
So I just want you to talk about how the center has grown over this time, all the new exciting things that we're doing now.
Yeah. So I think definitely the You Imagine scholarship program has been instrumental in helping the center grow. And we've had students come in under scholarship that are interested in the center, are entrepreneurial, work to develop their skills over time. And as a result of their participation in the center, and I think as a result of our structure and the way that it's evolved, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute, it has enabled us to really produce a lot of programming that inspires students to learn entrepreneurship, to demonstrate their entrepreneurial skills, to test them out, see if they like it. And so that program has been instrumental in that.
Yeah.
I'll talk a little bit about how we do that. So as you know, Joe, you're sitting here as the sort of the CEO of the student leadership group. We have very defined roles and responsibilities for each of the scholars in areas that that are necessary to be able to put on the programming that we put on, to be able to market the programs that we put on, to be able to execute the programs that we put on. So students have their roles, and then they're learning leadership responsibilities. So students each level, all 4 years, learn how to take on more and more leadership by taking project leads on all the things that we do. And so the center has evolved into a center that is student run.
Yeah, it's crazy because just thinking about when I was a freshman, we had just gotten onto Microsoft Teams and everyone's like, all right, we can organize things now.
Yeah.
And then looking at it now where, it really runs like a mini startup in a sense.
Yes.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean,
yes.
And like I look forward to seeing what it continues to grow into.
Yeah.
But where do you see the future of the center? Like, I know you can even talk a little bit about like the entrepreneurship curriculum.
Sure.
And like just how the entrepreneurship as a whole at Ursinus is growing.
Yeah.
in general? Yeah.
So I think it's being driven by students coming in. So students coming in are interested. You know, we've had a lot of change in experiences from COVID and amongst other things, but remote work, the gig economy, all those things where work as we knew it in the past, that whole 9-to-5 structure that's very confined has changed. And I think along with that, students are more interested in being creative, being in charge of their own destiny.
Yeah.
And as a result, that's the driver. So we started as a co-curricular program, and we have evolved into a program that includes curricular components.
Meaning credit.
Yeah,
So
credit.
Yeah.
So we have an entrepreneurial studies minor that students can minor in, and we also have a new business economics major that has an entrepreneurship concentration. So students now can take courses that will count towards either a major or a minor, certainly towards their core and graduation, and they could participate in co-curricular activities to really do the fun things, the experiential learning that allows them to try things out, allows them to grow their skills, allows them to, build a business if they want. Yeah. And so it's pretty cool. And I think that the scholarship program has really facilitated that development as well, because it's your hands are only this big, one person,
right?
But you multiply that by 12 people
and teams working together coherently,
and then the network just expands exponentially on the kinds of things and the amount of things that we can do.
All right, so just to conclude, I guess, for students that do want to get involved in the U Imagine Center, can you talk about some of the programs, the big things that we do? I know Bear Innovation's up there, Digital Spark, Bear Bazaar, all these sorts of programs that are resources really for student entrepreneurs.
Yeah, so Bear Innovation, we host every year in the spring. We give out $10,000 in cash prizes. Those cash prizes are donated from an alum who's a supporter of entrepreneurship education, and it's a Shark Tank-like type of competition, and it encompasses students from every year and every major and all different kinds of projects, and it's a great way to test out your business ideas if you're interested in entrepreneurship.
Yeah, and then Bear Bazaar.
So Bear Bazaar is very cool. Joe here, our host, started it. It was a great idea, and it's a student showcase where students can sell their products and services, and it's a way to highlight their businesses on campus while at the same time giving them an opportunity to make some money. Yeah, I think it's very cool.
A little farmer's market of businesses.
Yeah, a little pop-up.
Yeah,
and
cool.
we've seen that grow. We've seen that continue and be stable from semester to semester, which is another, I think, example of the growth of the center. When you talk about startup, things that we started that were successful, that we could improve upon and then continue to do and continue to grow. Yeah. And so Bear Bazaar is one of those.
Yeah, and students ask about it. Students love it. So
it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. And finally, Digital Spark.
Digital Spark. So we wrapped up this past summer with 99 students supporting 87 businesses. We've recruited again this summer. We have students ready to go in the program. We're currently recruiting businesses, and it's a program that partners students with local and regional businesses to provide digital marketing services for 8 weeks in the summer. Students are paid a stipend. They have on-campus housing. It's really an opportunity for them to see entrepreneurship up close and personal, because they're working with typically independent business owners, so they get a wide range of experience, but they get to see it up close and personal. Yeah. And everybody that's been through the program has reported that it's been a really good experience for them, particularly in developing their professional skills.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you so much. If you want to check out any of those programs we just mentioned, you can go to the U Imagine Center Instagram, click the link in the bio, and check out all that information. Guys, It's the final time. I'm signing off. Thank you all. Don't forget to subscribe, like it, all that good stuff. And for the final time, thank you so much. And we'll see you next time. I won't, but a new host will see you next time on From Sparks to Skyscrapers.
And congratulations, Joe, on graduation.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right. See you guys.
All right. Bye-bye.